This Monday, December 23rd, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rebet, a new sportsbook available in 45 states. Download Rebet in your app store and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Everyone to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Monday, December 23rd, 14-game schedule here in the association. Of course, we'll dive into each and every game here on the Monday schedule. I'll give you our lock and dog, of course, put together our Underdog Fantasy entry as well. And hopefully we can get the week started off on a winning note. But joining me here to help me break everything down happening on the Monday card, you guys know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, the WNBA Gambling Podcast, MLB, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast, it's Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
They're doing pretty well. Looking forward to the games today. A lot of them. I think we got about 14. So pretty interesting schedule this weekend. I think we had 3 games on Friday, decent amount of games on Saturday, and then 3 games again on Sunday. So pretty weird, but we're back to having a monster slate.
Yeah, big schedule here. Of course, Christmas week. We won't have any games on, I believe it will be on Tuesday, and then we'll be back on, of course, Christmas Day for the NBA. We'll do an episode for that tomorrow, and then back to our regularly scheduled program on Thursday and Friday, of course. So definitely looking forward to it. Should be a fun week of hoops here in the association. I really honestly didn't pay much attention to the NBA this weekend here, Scott. Saturday, a little bit of it. I was playing on some player props. Bobby Portis with Giannis being out there. That one usually is a very profitable angle.
He almost had a triple-double in that game.
Yeah, he almost did, yeah. Anything that stuck out to you before we get into the games?
Yeah, a couple of things I'll mention briefly. First of all, yesterday, congrats to Denver for barely beating the 5-25 Pelicans in overtime on a back-to-back. I know Joker had 27, 13, and 10. Team is just so unimpressive to actually watch, but they find ways to win games. So, yeah, New Orleans is terrible, and they still almost beat Denver. So, point is, the Nuggets still need to make some moves. Not impressed there. The Kings are really bad. I feel like the DeRozan trade has not worked at all because the spacing's kind of shot and they can't guard anybody. So, I was not a fan of Sacramento's offseason. I mentioned that during the win total episode with Terrell. They're 13-17. They're not very good, and they ended up getting killed by Indiana yesterday by 27. Shout out to McConnell, McConnell, who ended up having 12.7 rebounds and 10 assists yesterday. Houston almost lost to the G League Raptors, came back and they won the game, though. Dylan Brooks had 27, so nice win there. I'll do Friday first because there are only 3 games. Embiid played against a G League team, had 34 points, 9 assists, and ditched the game after against a good team. Cleveland beat Milwaukee, not a shock there. Giannis got his 14 rebounds, though, for plus 200 for me. Cash the dog on the episode, and the Heat did lose to the Thunder. Then Saturday, I'll mention basically one game because there's one thing I want to talk about. How the hell do you get outscored 37-8 in the fourth quarter?
Who did that?
Miami.
Oh,
Miami led by a bunch and then got outscored 37-8 in the fourth quarter to lose by 7. So they blew a massive lead. 37-8 is absolutely disgusting. You saw no Wagner, saw no Banchero. Cole Anthony goes for 35, 8, and 9. But 37-8 in the final quarter is disgusting, and it sums up why I think the Heat are a joke.
Yeah. I didn't catch that. I think Josh was mentioning in the chat there they gave up 30 plus in the fourth quarter to only score 8 points there. Yeah, and the weekend gets a little weird, but when you play 12-minute quarters, you're only scoring 8 points. Shame on you as a professional basketball team. And that was without Franz Wagner and Banchero in there for the Orlando Magic. So the Orlando Magic played tonight against Boston, but again, very shameful performance there from the Miami Heat in that fourth quarter. So pour one out for the Miami bettors at Bet them on the Saturday card. All right, Scott, let's get into it here, man. We got a lot of games to get through here. So let's dive right into it. We'll get into the first game on the schedule. Got the Boston Celtics there in Orlando. Speaking of those Orlando Magic, to take on the Magic. Celtics laying 10.5 in this game currently with a total of 215. Injury report, only questionable tag for the Boston Celtics will be Sam Hauser. And for the Orlando Magic, Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, and are all out. Questionable tags on Gary Harris and Jalen Suggs. So the core of this team, the stars of this team, out, and then we'll keep an eye on Jalen Suggs and Gary Harris are able to go here tonight. But Boston laying 10.5 here. Scott, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so Boston, of course, is the better team. I know Mo Wagner now is probably out for the year too, so it doesn't exactly get better for Orlando. They don't have any players. If we're thinking that Suggs is not going to play, I don't know who's going to be suiting up for this team. You're going to have to be hoping for, once again, a couple of big games from, I don't know, Caldwell Pope, Batadze maybe. You throw in a couple bench players in there, like
Anthony Black.
Yeah, I mean, you need Cole Anthony to have a monster game. That's basically what you need, like you had against Miami. Now, the Celtics did win their last game, avenged their previous loss to Chicago. Tatum had a 40-plus point triple-double and a good game by him. I don't think that Orlando has many players. Now, they're great at home, so that is going to make it interesting, but I don't know how they're supposed to keep pace with Boston, especially when it comes to three-point shooting, when you're missing all of your key contributors and Suggs might not play. So I think I have to go Boston in this game. I hate laying this amount with Boston because they've been messing around as double-digit favorites all year. But Orlando, at some point, no matter how mentally tough your team is, you just don't have the skill to match up. And it seems like this is a spot where they don't have the skill to actually match up against this team. Give me Boston minus 10.5.
Yeah, I think a good comparison would probably be like the Bengals and the Browns yesterday, where like Browns were down to like DTR and Jerome Ford. I mean, I know Jerome Ford had a great game there as well, but they just couldn't keep up.
We mentioned this, I'd say, on the NFL show before. DTR, I don't think it's an NFL player, but
Right.
the point is you're looking at the Bengals offense and all the weapons they have. Shout out to the Bengals, I should say, defense who played well, but the Browns defense was honestly fine. It didn't matter because the quarterback stinks.
Yeah. So I think kind of case in point here where you're missing your top guys here for Orlando, and like Boston has all their guys here healthy, ready to go. So yeah, I'd go Boston here minus 10.5. I think just offensively, I don't think Orlando will be able to keep up with this Boston Celtics team. Any thoughts on the total 215?
I think I'd rather go with Orlando team total under. I just think Orlando will not reach 100 in this game. You can make an argument that you're looking at maybe like 102 to, I mean, you're looking at like a 112 to 102 team total type of thing here.
Yeah.
I don't think Orlando gets to 100. If Boston cares defensively, Orlando should probably score in the 90s. So I think I am going to go with the under, but I don't feel great about it. Boston could drop 120.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving here. Next game on the schedule will go over to the Utah Jazz. They are in Cleveland to take on the Cavs. Cavs currently laying 14 points in this game with a total of 232.5. Injury report, start here with the Jazz. They are going to be questionable tags on John Collins, Keontae George, and that is pretty much it. Colin Sexton is available. And for the Cleveland,
it's a revenge game, isn't it? Even though
Colin Sexton and Laurie, right?
Yeah.
And then Cavs, they are going to be relatively healthy. They are without Isaac Okoro, and Sam Merrill is also questionable for this game, and that is pretty much it. So, just to recap, Cavs without Okoro and questionable tag on Sam Merrill. Utah Jazz, questionable tags on Collins, Keontae George, and then Colin Sexton available, along, of course, with Lauri Markkanen. Cavs laying 14 at home here with a total of 232.5, Scott.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to take the points in this game. I understand Cleveland's much better in terms of standings, and I recognize how talented this team is. Utah's been not bad since the restart after the NBA Cup. They were able to beat Detroit, scored a bunch of points in that game, beat the Nets over the weekend. Not sure how the Nets were favored in that game, but still. Utah's not playing terribly right now. I'm not saying they're good, and I know that Cleveland's better, but 14, I think Utah can score enough points to keep this game close.
Yeah, I think that last game for the Bucks you mentioned, I mean, I think, was it you and I that talked about it, that it could have been a letdown spot for the Bucks coming out of Vegas, or the case might have been.
I mean, Dame didn't play. They were
yeah. Yeah, they were shorthanded. I think that's a fair point. But I think I think I agree with you. I think the Jazz can keep this close. Get a motivated effort, obviously, here from Colin Sexton and Laurie Markkinen going up against their former teams. Cleveland, they've been a monster at home, but I do think that the Jazz can keep this one close here. Do you like the over in this game here at 232.5 here, Scott? Any thoughts on the total?
I think I like the over because I'm not picking Utah based on their defense. I think that you'll
Yeah.
see a higher scoring game. But I do want to point out, because you did mention that of course, Christmas NBA slate's coming up in a couple days. There are some teams that don't play again until after Christmas. So I am
Right.
wondering if some teams, for example, Cleveland, who are laying 14 points, they don't play again until the 27th. They play Denver. So do they really give a great effort mentally against one of the crappier teams in the league? Probably not. Like, I do wonder how many teams are looking ahead to the break that don't play again on for example, Christmas. So I don't want to lay 14 with a team that might already have some travel plans or already start, I'd say, focusing on the tree they're going to have in the house. You get what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
there are some spots where I think that laying this amount of points before a long layoff is not really worth it for me. I'm going to pass on Cleveland.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, they don't play till Friday again. Jazz then will travel back home, and then they'll go up to Portland, I believe, on Thursday. Is it? Yeah. So they have a game on Thursday. But yeah, I think defense will be a questionable, especially with the Utah Jazz. We're just walking in and giving up like 130 plus points a night.
That's how bad the Nets are, by the way. I think they scored less than 100 last game against Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for this game?
I mean, once again, I think you're going to see a bunch of points. So if you're going with Utah, I don't mind Sexton having a solid game. He's been good lately. If you want to look for Laurie's actually not been that great lately in terms of his stats. It's been mostly Sexton and some other guys. I know Kessler's had some good games. Was not good against the Nets. Got into foul trouble early. I think for Cleveland, you can kind of just, once again, go through everybody who can potentially score on this team. So I like the over. I see a bunch of points.
It's quick to kind of see what Laurie has done against the Cavs since the trade. So, guys, it's been since 2022 that trade happened.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we got to mention Mitchell. I mean, for picking one guy to go off, it's probably Mitchell against Utah. But
yeah. Laurie in 3 games against Cleveland since he joined the Utah Jazz, 24, 25, 26. 24 and 26 in Cleveland against his former team. And I'll quickly look at Colin Sexton here. Colin Sexton, 20 and 19 in 34 minutes. So if you want to look at those two guys for player props here tonight, I think that could be an angle there as well.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep it moving here. Next game on the schedule, go to the San Antonio Spurs. They are taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers laying 6 points in this game with a total of 218. Starting to see some 217.5s pop up. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, we'll start here with the San Antonio Spurs. Relatively healthy. Nobody's out for this game, so Wemby will be playing in this game. For the Philadelphia 76ers, Ricky Council IV, questionable. Joel Embiid is available. Eric Gordon is out. Tyrese Maxey is probable tonight. And, of course, we know Jared McCain is going to be out for an extended amount of time. So Embiid and Maxey both will likely go, along with Paul George. So you'll have your quote-unquote big three playing here for the Sixers against the Spurs. Sixers laying 6 points here. Scott, total 218.
Yeah, so I think I'm actually going to go with San Antonio in this game. Spurs have quietly been pretty good lately. They've gotten healthy again, but Wemby's been a lunatic. Had a double-double with blocks over the weekend, which is nuts. He had 30 points, 7 rebounds, 10 blocks. At some point, you figure Portland would stop trying him, but they kept trying him, and he kept blocking every shot. But the Spurs so far this season are 15 and 13. They're actually playing pretty well. Now, they are better at home than on the road, but Philly, I'm assuming Embiid's going to play in this game because he had 70 against Wemby a year or two ago. But I don't trust Philly at all. I think that Philly is a team that even when Embiid's playing, I still don't like the overall cohesion with this team. The Paul George signing's been a mess. I think that with McCain being out, who's one of their more consistent players, you might have some problems. But I just think the Spurs are undervalued. I mean, Wemby's having, I don't want to say a borderline MVP year, but you look at the numbers, and I think he's going to finish higher in MVP voting than people think. Like, Wemby's been great.
Yeah.
Like, going through the actual numbers this season, even the three-point shooting's kind of come around over the last month. He's averaging about 25 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and he's averaging just an insane 3.8 blocks per game. But I want to mention his numbers in December in particular, because his numbers are insane. He's averaging roughly 28 points per game, 9.9 rebounds. He's shooting a pretty solid 37.7% from three, and he's averaging 4.3 blocks per game. He's been an absolute monster. Now, I'm not saying he can guard Embiid, but then again, if Embiid completes a full game without getting injured, then the Sixers fans have a parade. So I'm not sure that Embiid's going to actually make it through the full game. But do I want to lay 6? Not really. Now, we mentioned before that some teams are going to be off for Christmas. They have a long layoff. The Sixers are not one of those teams. I believe the Sixers are playing on a Christmas. So you might wonder, with a game that's kind of a standalone game against Boston on Wednesday on the road, are they looking ahead? Are they too bad to look ahead? I don't know. But I think that their mind might be ahead to Boston. I think the Spurs are definitely live to win this game. I'll go with San Antonio.
Yeah, as a 9-17 team, I don't think you should be looking ahead to anything. I don't care if it's against Boston on Christmas Day. But I agree with you, though. I do like the Spurs in this spot. Chris Paul, like the chat has mentioned, has actually looked pretty good with the San Antonio Spurs. I know we questioned that signing, but...
Well, I like the concept. The concern was his durability. Would he be able to survive? And so far, knock on wood, he's actually been pretty healthy.
Yeah, and compared to some other guys on the roster, he's been one of the more healthier guys for this team. So this is also the third game in 4 nights for the Philadelphia 76ers. So I think that's always...
Not for Embiid.
Yeah, not for Embiid, though. I think I don't think we'll ever see that again in his career for the Sixers. But I think this could be a lower scoring game, though. I think at 2, the number's starting to come down a little bit. Starting to see 217.5s pop up, 217s as well. I think the pace, Philly doesn't really play with a lot of pace, obviously, with Embiid being out there. I think same thing with the Spurs there as well. You have Wemby that can play defense. I think the Spurs have really bought in on the defensive side of the basketball as well. We talked about that earlier. We talked about that earlier in the season as well. I think that's kind of what's been, I guess, quote unquote, the success so far this season for this Spurs team, having a record above 500. And Philly, I mean, at any time can go really anemic from the offensive side of the basketball. So I do like the under in this game. Spurs plus the points, and then under in this game for me, Scott. You got anything on the total?
Yeah, I think for the total, I'd probably consider the under. I think that the Sixers are going to play slower with Embiid. I do wonder if the Spurs are going to be trying to run a lot. I doubt it. I think you'll see a low-scoring game. Defensively, you still have Embiid and you have Wemby patrolling the paint. And Wemby, we know, even though it gives up a lot of overall weight to Embiid, he's still going to be able to factor a lot of shots at the rim or alter a lot of shots at the rim. So I like the under in this game. It's mostly going back to what I said months ago. When Philly has Embiid in the lineup, I like unders. And when Philly has no Embiid, I like overs because the pace drastically shifts. So I'll go with the under in this game.
All right. Before we continue the conversation here for the Monday schedule, let me tell everyone about our good old friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus of all sports. You can bet or you can put entries together for college football, bowl season, NBA, of course. You got the NHL season, MMA, NASCAR, college basketball, of course. I know tennis is back as well. So you can also win up to 1,000 extra entry with Underdog Fantasy as well. They're always making it easier, honestly, to win with profit boost and gimme pick'ems. It's really a lot of fun over on Underdog Fantasy, sweating it out. And like I mentioned, you can use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott and I will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for the Monday night card. And we're also brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sportsbook available in 45 states. There are plenty of betting opportunities that are available on Rebet. It's easy to use and great for people in states where traditional sportsbooks may be restricted. Download Rebet in the App Store and use your promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Again, that's Rebet, promo code SGPN. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the Houston Rockets. They are visiting the Charlotte Hornets in this game. Rockets are a 6.5-point road favorite here with a total of 220. Looking at the injury report, Rockets do get that extra time to submit their injury report since they are on a back-to-back. For the Charlotte Hornets, Trey Mann, Brandon Miller, Grant Williams, of course, are all out here tonight. And then for availability, Nick Smith Jr. and KJ Simpson on the injury report are available. LaMelo Ball is a go in this game as well, along with Bridges. Rockets coming off a back-to-back game here, or on the second leg of a back-to-back, I should say, coming off their come-from-behind victory against the Toronto Raptors here, laying 6.5 on the road here, Scott, against the Hornets.
Yeah, I'm going with Houston. I know that Houston barely beat the Raptors, but I'm hoping that gives Udoka enough ammo to get his team motivated for the back-to-back on this game, because that Raptors game was actually a massive sweat for no apparent reason. They kind of no-showed the first half, and they got going late. Brooks helped carry the team offensively, which is probably not a good sign, but still, point is Brooks had a great game there.
Yeah, it was back in Canada.
Yeah, either way. Point is, though, he had a great game, and the Rockets came back, but I think the Hornets are a joke. I still remember we talked about their win total this upcoming season, and they were projected to be a borderline play-in team. And I just laughed at the concept because LaMelo can't stay healthy, and I don't trust the actual team. It looked good early on. For the first week and a half or so, they looked pretty good. Then LaMelo got injured, and he takes about 30 shots a game. So I don't think that the Hornets are really good at anything. They got Bridges, they have LaMelo, and another Brandon Miller's been injured. So that's definitely a big deal. They don't really have a center core that I like. I mean, Mark Williams and drawing a blank. Richards, I think, are fine.
Yeah, Nick Richards.
They're not like amazing or anything, but I think you're looking at the Hornets, who I don't take seriously because LaMelo thinks every shot's a good shot, and he plays in the NBA like he's still at Chino Hills. He's just taking fadeaway one-leg shots from 35, and he's like, no, it's a good shot. I can do whatever I want because I'm the franchise player. Yeah, I don't think the Hornets are any good. So I think that Houston has enough motivation after really struggling against a bad Raptors team to bury a potential bottom feeder in a back-to-back. I'm going Houston because if you actually like Houston's defense, which I do, and even in that game yesterday, Barnes was horrible. There's some other guys who stepped up, but they were able to shut down Toronto's best player. If LaMelo ends up going like 7 of 28 in this game, they got no chance. So I'll go with Houston minus 6.5.
Yeah, Houston also has a revenge in this game as well. I think the first game of the regular season, the Hornets went into Houston and beat them in that game. I think they came from behind in that game as well. So Rockets looking to give that revenge back as well against the Hornets in this game. The perimeter defense, I think, will probably is what will have LaMelo Ball in quote unquote hell in this game. Of course, I don't think Fred VanVleet will be matched up on him. I would expect Amen Thompson to get a lot of minutes here tonight for the Rockets, matching up on LaMelo Ball. I think that he could pull him in hell. And then, like you mentioned, if he does have a game where he's jacking up another 30 shots and only hits 10, I think I can live with that here. I think Şengün can have a big game here as well against the interior there of the Hornets, or lack thereof. I think there'll be a little bit of focus in this game. I think Ime Udoka has done a great job this season of getting this Rockets team focused. And I'm sure he ripped them a new one during halftime of that game against Toronto, and now going in against the Charlotte Hornets, getting that revenge here. So I'll lay it here with the Houston Rockets. I think that the other guys in this game will step up, not having to rely on Dylan Brooks to be the offense, honestly, for you to get a victory here tonight. So I do like the under in this game here as well. 220. I think Rockets, you mentioned the defense has been really good this season. I think that can carry against a team that hasn't had a lot of success scoring the basketball this season. Obviously, that helps when you have Bridges and LaMelo Ball out there. But again, like you mentioned, Scott, that if LaMelo Ball has another game where he's, 7 of 30, 7 of 35, whatever the case might be, again, we were saying that it could be a long night as far as offense goes for this Charlotte Hornets team. So with that being said, I like the under in this game here as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Hornets, once again, are a team that I really don't want to back. Maybe if they're getting a lot of points, but 6.5 is not enough for me. I'm really just over the entire LaMelo Ball experience, and I have been for years. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the entire league. Yep. I recognize the talent, but if you have no discipline, you miss a bunch of games and your shot selection's atrocious, I don't think you actually play winning basketball. Right. It's one thing if you want to put together a bunch of highlights and hit a bunch of step back, 3-pointers or whatever. You don't actually help your team win games. And that's kind of what matters to me. So I think LaMelo is extremely overrated.
I'll quickly address this. Jalen Green, for whatever reason, or maybe a reason, has actually been really good against the Charlotte Hornets because they really don't have a perimeter defense. Jalen Green's averaging 30.8 points per game in his 5 career games against the Charlotte Hornets. In his career, he scored 23 or more points in all 5 games. So
well, to be fair, who was guarding him? You had a backcourt of what? It was LaMelo and Terry Rozier trying to guard him?
Yeah, so again, it's going to be those two guys again, or at least I should say LaMelo Ball again here tonight against this Rockets team. So his points prop right now is sitting at 19.5. He scored, like I mentioned, 23 or more in all 5 career games against the Charlotte Hornets. Anything else for this game, Scott?
Not really. I think we kind of covered most of it. Şengün should have a solid game, assuming
Yeah.
that he's fully healthy. I thought he looked fine yesterday. Didn't have a monster stat line, but I believe he had a double-double in that game. Think he can match up well against Charlotte. Do you agree with me about LaMelo? Because I know I've gone on record on the show for years at this point. I think it's gotten worse. Has it gotten any better?
He just wants to go out there and just get up as many shots
That's
as
what I'm
he
saying.
can,
Like,
and
you
get
figured
how many
you
triple
show
doubles
with a
he
new
can.
coach, you figured, all right, I'll show some restraint. Maybe I'll figure something out. He's been even crazier with the shot selection volume.
Yeah.
Like, he's headed in the wrong direction.
You mentioned Şengün, the game earlier this season, 25 points, 18 rebounds in that game for Şengün. I know they didn't have Nick Richards and Mark Williams at that point, but something to keep in mind here for those two teams. Or sorry, for Şengün. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we've got the Brooklyn Nets. They're in Miami to take on the Heat. Heat minus 10.5 in this game with a total of 213. Looking at the injury report for the Brooklyn Nets. Let me get down here. So Bogdanović continues to be out. Cam Thomas, Trent Watford, and Zaire Williams are all out. Questionable tags on Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Martin, and Dark Whitehead. So pretty injured team here are the Brooklyn Nets here, Scott. But they are catching 10.5 here against the Miami Heat. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, how high is Dennis Schroeder's stock? Because damn, this team fell apart when they traded him. Like, they can't do anything offensively in this game. They scored 94 points at home against the Jazz. Do you know how bad you have to be offensively to score 94 points at home against Utah? Like, that is ridiculous. But Miami's a joke. I mean, you get outscored 37-8 in the fourth quarter against a team that's missing its 2 best players. I think the Heat should, keyword should, dominate. However, I can't stand laying points with the Heat because I think this team stinks too. So I'll go with the under in this game. I'll dare either offense to do anything in this game. Miami, I think defensively can kind of clamp down the Heat, clamp down the Nets, I mean. If the Nets scored 100, I wouldn't be shocked. If they scored less than 100, I really wouldn't be shocked. Miami, though, offensively has been fine. The Nets defensively, though, I think have been okay. They're not a bad defensive team. They play hard. That counts for something. I'll go with the under. Miami really should win this game off of that loss by 20, but I can't stand this team. So, like, I can't look myself in the mirror and lay 10.5 with Miami at home after all of the years of fading Miami blindly as home favorites. But the Nets are really terrible. Like, this Nets team can't score. They can't do anything. But I think Miami should, keyword should, dominate this game. Maybe if you want to avoid laying this big of a number, Miami wire to wire. You pick them to lead after every quarter. They should have come out, I'd say, aggressive after what happened against Orlando, and hopefully they don't choke the thing. The Nets, though, were really bad. And I watched a lot of that game because I had Cam Johnson assist in that game, which got there. But I had to sweat it out, and the Nets offensively are a joke.
Yeah.
Miami wire to wire will be my play. The Nets are a bottom 4 team in the league right now, and people have to realize just how bad they actually are. They're not even done. They're probably going to trade Cam Johnson and other guys.
Yeah.
Trading Schroeder changed everything because they have no ball handlers. Now, Simmons' assists have been good lately. He still can't shoot. He's had 10-plus points doing 3 straight games. But watching them play, they're an eyesore. Hey, 3 straight games for 10 points of Ben Simmons. That's like 30 for the average score. So Miami really should kill this team, but I can't trust them enough. Give me Miami wire to wire.
Yeah, I just think it's Brooklyn team total under for me. Last 3 games, I think maybe since the trade of Schroeder, 101, 101, and 94. And like you mentioned, they only scored 94 against the Jazz. I think that's pretty telling for this Brooklyn Nets team. And look, yeah, they're without Schroeder, but they're also missing missing scores as well, right? If you had Cam Thomas, who would probably get up another 30 shots in a game, it would be a different story, at least on the offensive side for this team. But they're missing him, other guys, and I think they're relying on guys that are obviously at the end of the bench for this Brooklyn Nets team to do the scoring. So I think the best bet for me in this game would be the Nets team total under. I think the one thing I could probably trust is the Miami Heat defense in this game. So as far as the side, like you mentioned, they should win this game comfortably, should the Miami Heat. But I think a lot of people are just sour from what transpired on Saturday night when they played the Orlando Magic there. So yeah, I'll gun to my head, since we pick every game, Heat minus 10.5, but my favorite play would be the Nets team total under.
I'll go wire to wire again. I'll just fade the Nets. Hopefully the Heat get a big enough lead where they blow 2/3 of it, but they hold on to win the game.
All right, before we get over to the next game on the schedule, let me tell everyone about our good old pals over at mybookie.ag. We're brought to you by mybookie.ag. If, believe it or not, mybookie has been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website. It's great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. They even have a new early cash out option available on mybookie.ag. So head over to mybookie.ag, use our promo code SGPN, NBA SGPN, or sorry, SGPN over on MyBookie for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip as well. Again, that's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered back sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions on betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. And now you can track props in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA, Rhythm. Honestly, they have it all. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, next game on the board, we'll go over to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are in Atlanta to take on the Hawks. Wolves currently laying 4 points in this game with a total of 223.5. Injury report for Minnesota, pretty clean. Luka Garza and Joe Ingles are out. For the Atlanta Hawks, Bogdan Bogdanovic is questionable here tonight. Onyeka Okongwu is also out tonight. And then Trae Young is questionable. He's dealing with a right heel contusion. So
I'm going to point out, though, he was at shoot around today.
Okay, good point. Atlanta catching 4 points here at home. Let me see if there's an updated line here with that news, but I would still think it's -4 in favor of the. So it's down to 3.5 now is the updated number here, but 3.5 for the Hawks catching at home here. Scott, what do you think?
I got to go with Atlanta. I got to factor in the actual current state of Minnesota, who were awful to start the year. Then randomly defensively, they turned into the, I'd say, early 2000s Pistons for about a week, and now they're back to being terrible again. So I think that this team has serious chemistry issues. Randall doesn't fit with anybody. Ant's calling out his team for basically being soft almost every game at this point. Called out the refs last game, except the women one. He separated that. He did not roast the female ref. He roasted the male refs. So, yeah, whatever that means. Point is, though, he's been full of quotes, and none of them have been positive so far this season for Minnesota. I can't lay forward the Timberwolves. Like, this team, I think, can't stand each other. I think that they have serious chemistry issues, and I do think that Atlanta, with Trae Young probably playing in this game, has value getting points. Atlanta's also feisty. Like, they've been bad lately, but Trae hasn't played, or like they've been shorthanded, so I can understand it. They also had a deep run to the NBA Cup. So I think with Trae probably back in the lineup since he went through shoot around, I'm going with the Hawks. Why would I lay points with Minnesota, who have been really just at each other's throats all season long? They hate each other, especially Randall and Gobert. They can't stand each other. So yeah. I'll go with Atlanta on the money line, actually. I think it's a great price.
Yeah, I was scratching my head a little bit when I saw this line here as well. I think Anthony Edwards, after the game against the Knicks, I believe, or was the following game, that just mentioned that they really don't have an identity on the offensive side of the basketball. And he mentioned that he's getting his shots up as many as he can, and Randall's getting his 20+ points per game. But after that, there's not much there for this team. And that was a concern. Like I mentioned, coming into the season, that even with the trade for Julius Randle, that they really didn't have a legitimate second scorer next to Anthony Edwards that can improve this team, and those two guys can build off of each other to win basketball games. And I think that's something that's going to have to change for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. Where the other side of Atlanta last season was not a very good team, just generally against the spread, or just as a basketball team winning games here. But things have changed for this team, and I think it took a little bit for Quinn Snyder to really integrate his offense and the way they want to play basketball. They're Trae Young's having a great season. The depth has been there for this team as well. Jalen Johnson, we've talked about a lot about, is having a great season here as well. So, yeah, I like the Atlanta Hawks here as well on the money line. I think this is in the territory of the dog pick of the night here. So, yeah, give me the home team here catching the points. Total 225 here. Scott, anything on the total?
For this one, it's really tough because Minnesota has a bad time scoring, but defensively they've kind of been underwhelming lately. And the Hawks, we know, defensively have been better lately. Not a great defensive team, but they can also score a lot. I think I'll go with the over. Mostly just backing Atlanta to push the pace here and hoping Minnesota offensively can do enough while also being a bit underwhelming defensively over the last couple games. But I prefer the Hawks. I don't really think I'm going to have a play in the total, but I'll go with Atlanta.
All right, let's keep it moving here. We'll go over to the Toronto Raptors. They are in Madison Square Garden to take on the New York Knicks. Knicks are laying 14 points in this game with a total of 226. Looking at the injury report, I'll start here with Toronto. Of course, they get that extra time here since they did play yesterday at home against the Rockets. For the New York Knicks, pretty clean injury report. Of course, Mitchell Robinson continues to be out, but a lot of guys that are on G League assignment that are questionable in this game, but don't, of course, see the floor under Tom Thibodeau. But healthy coming into this game are the New York Knicks here. Scott, what are your thoughts on the Knicks here?
This game is so difficult for me to tell because Toronto has actually been competitive lately. They're not good, but at least they've been hanging in there against some bad teams, I'll admit it. But still, the Knicks were messing around against New Orleans last game, and then they ended up blowing them out basically in the second half. I think it's the first home game since the fiasco against Atlanta in the NBA Cup. So they haven't played a home game in a while. We'll see how they look in this one. The first game they played was very competitive. That was before the quarterfinals, I believe, of the NBA Cup, and the Raptors almost won that game. And then Cat hit that big three at the end to basically put the game on ice. I really don't have many opinions on this game, to be honest. I think I like the under because Toronto can't score right now. The offense has been really bad for Toronto, but the Knicks, they can name the score if they really care enough. I'm not sure if they're going to. They do have a Christmas game coming up while the Raptors do not. I think I like the under. I just don't trust Toronto to actually score at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if RJ Barrett does play in this game because he was a late scratch yesterday, maybe in anticipation of playing here in New York against his former team. Maybe
he had an illness, so I don't know how bad the illness actually is.
Yeah. So then you're relying on, Grady Dick, Scotty Barnes.
Agbaji's randomly been good the last couple games.
Yeah. And again, this Knicks team is healthy right now, and I know they're coming off a long road trip, or not a long road trip, but they're coming off of the road trip here. First game back, like you mentioned, at home in quite some time. 14 just feels like a lot here, but would I be surprised if the Knicks blew them out? Absolutely not. Robert is asking if Quickly's coming back anytime soon. I haven't seen an injury update on, Emmanuel Quickly for the Raptors. But yeah, gun to my head, I'd laid with the Knicks here. I don't know. I don't love it here, but again, minus 14 would be the look here for me. Knicks team total over would be the look as far as the total goes in this game, but that's pretty much it for this game that I have here. Anything else for this game, Scott?
Yeah, to answer Robert's question, the checks keep clearing for Quickly, so he's going to take his sweet time to come back.
I do see that Jalen Suggs and Gary Harris still do remain questionable here tonight, so that doesn't help us with anything. All right. Next game on the board, we'll go with the Milwaukee Bucks. They are in Chicago to take on the Bulls. Bucks laying 1.5 here on the road with a total of 231. Looking at the injury report for the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is officially questionable for this game. He has back spasms.
I'm assuming he's out, right? Because it's only 1.5.
Yeah, I would think so. Dame is doubtful here tonight. Chris Middleton is probable, and Chris Livingston is questionable here tonight for the Bucks. For the Chicago Bulls, I did see that Lonzo Ball was just downgraded, I believe. Let me double check that.
What, he played 2 games in a row? 3 games in a row?
Yeah, something like that.
That's progress. That counts.
Yeah. He's now listed as questionable with an illness for the Chicago Bulls here. Giddey questionable with an ankle injury. Torrey Craig is also questionable as well. So keep an eye on the injury report for the Chicago Bulls. Bucks laying 1.5 here on the road against the Bulls here. Scott, what are your thoughts?
I think I am going to go Chicago. I'm probably not going to bet this game. I have to wait for injury news, but these teams always kill each other. Even when Giannis plays, a lot of the games are competitive, but I think that the Bulls have a bit more firepower with Giannis being out, with Lillard being out. Middleton was good last game, though. Shout out to Middleton. And we know Bobby Portis had a monster game, borderline triple-double. But I do think you're looking at a spot where the Bulls, I think, are I don't want to say live because, once again, the line's only 1.5, but I would probably pick them to win this game. The Bulls, I think, are defensively challenged. They're not a good defensive team at all.
Yep.
They can score, though. I think that counts for something. So I'll go with Chicago in this one. High-scoring game, competitive, but I do think the Bucks missing that many guys to beat the Wizards. The Wizards are a fake team. That doesn't mean anything to me. I think the Bulls are better than that. Give me Chicago.
Yeah, again, we'll wait to see if Giannis does in fact end up
with
playing
the
this
spread
game
being
or
so
not.
low. I'm assuming he's not going to play.
Yeah. If he doesn't play in this game, all over Bobby Portis props, of course, points, rebounds, assist. Yeah, I think it would be Chicago for me here as well. I think that the Bucks could probably keep it competitive, but I think the Bulls, with the firepower like you mentioned that they do have with Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Vucevic. LaVine's actually having a great season.
Vucevic has had a great year. He could be a borderline all-star.
Yeah, I don't think that's been talked about enough for this Bulls team right now. But Bulls would be the look here for me as well. Total, I don't really have much on the total here. You have anything for the total?
It's either over or pass for me.
Yeah, especially with the Bulls defense there. I think at home they've been very, very profitable this season as far as a total goes for the Bulls. But let's see here quickly. Sorry, that's on the road. So they're 4-10 straight up at home, 6-8 ATS, 7-7 on the total there for the Chicago Bulls. But they do play again on Saturday. So this is, at least for the Bulls, this is the first game against the Bucks here. So they have a game against the Bucks here. They play on Thursday against the Hawks, and they have the Bucks again on Saturday. So maybe they're just keeping Giannis out for Christmas Day. Who knows? But yeah, Bulls here for me. All right. Let's keep it moving here. Next game on the board, we'll get some Western Conference teams. The LA Clippers are in Memphis here tonight to take on the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are laying 6 points in this game with a total of 229. Injury report for the Clippers. Let me scroll down. Where are the Clippers? Clippers. All right. Pretty clean injury report. The usual suspects are out. Of course, Kawhi. Terrence Mann continues to be out as well. For the Memphis Grizzlies, Desmond Bane is officially listed as questionable in this game with an illness. Jay Huff is also out. Gigi Jackson out. Marcus Smart is out. And Vince Williams Jr. is out. Ja Morant is a go in this game. Grizzlies laying 6 points here at home, Scott, with a total of 229.
I mean, they're a completely different team when Ja plays. The problem is he never plays. So the fact that he's back in the lineup helps. The Clippers, though, have been feisty. I think this game's going to come down to the wire. The question is, I think Memphis eventually finds a certain gear offensively to blow the game open. I think I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go with the Grizzlies -6. I don't feel great about it, but with Ja playing, they are a much better team. So I'll go with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers, again, another team that we haven't really talked about much, are actually having a really, pretty good season, at least exceeding my expectations thus far this season.
They couldn't blow it up. They didn't have their own draft pick, but Harden's been very good for the most part.
Yeah. The area that the Clippers have struggled, it has been on the road this season. First half, they're 3-7 straight up as an away dog. 4-6 in the first half. ATS are the Clippers there as well. And Memphis has been a team that's come out in games that have played very, very well. So I think I'll go back to the Grizzlies in the first half in this game. ATS as a home favorite, they are 10-4 in the first half. I think they can just, again, continue being a really good home team as they have thus far this season here. So I think it'll be first half full game here for me for the Grizzlies, more so in the first half here with Ja Morant playing here tonight. Do you have anything on the total 229, Scott?
I think I'd go under. Mostly based on the Clippers actually being a pretty good defensive team and with them not really wanting to play with much pace. I think I'll go under. Hope for a physical game between the two of them, but I probably prefer the under over the spread. So I think I'll go under in this game.
All right, let's keep it moving. Next game on the board, we've got the Washington Wizards. They're in Oklahoma City. Take on the Thunder. Thunder laying a casual 18 points in this game with a total of 226. Injury report for the Wizards. Saddiq Bey, of course, continues to be out. Bilal Coulibaly is questionable here tonight with a right groin soreness.
He's their only good player.
Yep, and Kuzma is out for this game here as well. For OKC, Chet continues to be out, and that is pretty much it. Thunder got the short end of the stick after the NBA Cup. They had 2 games on, what was it, Thursday and Friday. Had the weekend off, but now back at home against the Wizards here, laying 18, Scott.
Yeah, I got to pat myself on the back. The Wizards' off-season win total of 21.5 might be the freest under I've ever had in my entire life. I can't believe that their win total is in the 20s. Anyway, this is one of the worst teams I've seen in a long time. You could argue the process Sixers are the worst team of all time, before Embiid got there, of course, but they're hanging in there. I'll put it that way. This team might win like 10 games if they get to that point. I think OKC wins this game by 30. You have no Giannis and you still win by 20 plus. Or like they were up by 20 plus for the entire game, basically. The Wizards are a joke. OKC had a couple of close games against Orlando and against Miami. Those were road games. Now they're back home for the first time since the game on since the the NBA Cup game on December 10th. They haven't been home in about 2 weeks. I think they beat the brakes off this damn team. If Koulibaly's out, they have nobody who's worth a damn. Poole's going to chuck up 30 shots. Have fun with the Shea and Caruso and Dort assignment. I think OKC wins this game by 30, especially if Koulibaly doesn't play. Give me OKC minus 18.
Yeah, I think OKC team total over is like my favorite play in this game. Like first quarter, first half, full game. Just take all three. You mentioned it. Bucks scored 112 without Giannis. They did beat the Charlotte Hornets, so they got their one victory of the month, at least I should say.
I forgot. But that was the game LaMelo took 32 shots in? Or that
was I think you and I talked about where he took like
he missed the next game because of shoulder soreness, probably.
But, so I think, the OKC Thunder being back at home, I think they take care of business here. So, but I like their team total over in this game for the OKC Thunder. I think that's something I'm going to be playing first quarter, first half, full game, a little trifecta team total over for the OKC Thunder. I don't have anything else for this game. You got anything else?
No, once again, just a massive, massive blowout.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving here. The Portland Trail Blazers, they are in Dallas to take on the Mavericks in this game. Mavericks laying 10.5 with a total of 229.5. Injury report for the Portland Trail Blazers, pretty clean. For the Dallas Mavericks, Luka is questionable. He's also dealing with a left heel contusion. Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy continue to be out for this team, but Kyrie, Clay, the rest of the players there for the Mavericks are a go in this game. So keep your eye out for Luka. Blazers catching 10.5 here on the road, Scott, total 229.5.
Yeah, so I, of course, need to know if Luka's going to play or not. But Portland's a weird team where I'd say some of the parts is a lot worse than the individual parts. I don't know if it's chemistry, maybe Chauncey Billups, but they should be better. Like, they actually have some talent on the roster. Even like Jeremy Grant hasn't actually been injured, which is kind of a shock, but Simons has played some games. They have a relatively healthy roster, and it doesn't matter because they don't guard anybody, and there's really no chemistry on the entire team. So, I mean, Dallas has been playing well lately. They killed the Clippers over the weekend. I think I am going to go with Dallas, but like Portland could hang in there, but I want nothing to do with this team. So I'll go with the Mavericks, but I'm not going to bet this game.
I'm not.
It's a pretty big spread. I get it, but I can't stand Portland.
Yeah, but I really don't like backing Dallas at home as a favorite as well. That hasn't historically been a very profitable angle. But I mean, Portland coming off of a 20-point loss against the Spurs.
I watched it. They quit in the entire third quarter.
Yeah. They just matched up on December 1st in Portland, 137-131 victory for the Dallas Mavericks in that game. Dallas against Portland. Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm just going to read off these numbers here to you, what they've scored against Portland. 123, 125, 131, 126, 139, 137 over their last 6 games here. So,
over.
Yeah, I think if you want to take the full game over, or if you want to take a Dallas team total over, I think even without, if Luka doesn't play in this game, I think there's still enough of how bad this Portland defense has been for them to put up points with Kyrie and the rest of the crew there. So, gun to my head, Mavericks minus the points, and then team total over for the Mavericks would be my look in this game here. You got anything else for this game?
No, not really. I think, once again, Dallas should win, especially if Luke is going to play. He could have a monster game, but I just don't trust the Trailblazers to do anything because I think Billups is an atrocious head coach.
Just an injury update. Jalen Suggs did participate in shoot around here for the Orlando Magic, so keep that in mind. All right, next game on the board, we'll go with the Indiana Pacers. They are in the Bay Area to take on the Golden State Warriors. Updated line in this game: Warriors are a 5.5-point favorite with a total of 229.5. Injury report: Indiana did play yesterday, so they get that extra time to submit the injury report. For the Warriors, 2 questionable tags: Moses Moody and Draymond Green, both questionable here tonight. Everybody else is a go for the Golden State Warriors. Pacers catching 5.5 here on the road here, Scott, against the Warriors. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the Warriors won a game. Congratulations. You beat the Timberwolves, but I don't want to lay 5.5 points with you. I'll go with Indiana. Indiana's been good lately. Now, they played yesterday. They were able to coast because they killed Sacramento, and the Kings are falling apart. Anyway, it's a lot of points to lay with a team that's still been in free fall. Like, the Warriors won one game. Maybe they righted the ship. Indiana's been playing better. So I kind of just want to take the points between two teams that I think are still untrustworthy. I'll take the 5.5. I think that there is a world where Golden State wins this game 1-10 for win margin. Game could be close, but Indiana's been better lately. They're not good, but neither of the Warriors for the last couple weeks. So I'll go with Indiana.
Yeah, I think the only part that does make me nervous, Indiana hasn't been very good on back-to-back situations since the 2022 season. On back-to-back situations, 11-20 straight up, 11-20 ATS. They are 20-11 towards the over. Those games are on the road in a back-to-back situation, 4-11 straight up, 5-10 ATS in those spots. They've lost the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They've lost 10 of their last 11 games on a back-to-back situation on the road. They've only covered 2 of those games there. So number one, I do like the over in this game. It's just really tricky on what I like about this Warriors team because we see them lose by 50 some odd points, bounce back the next night, have a good, defensive effort, I should say.
They also blow every fourth quarter lead, so you
And
can't really
that's-
trust
yeah.
them at the end of games.
Yeah, and that's the part I struggle with. So if you want to take the Warriors, I think it would probably be in the first half of games. Or that third quarter. I think that magic has run out as well for them. But that fourth quarter is just where the spread can go to die here if you do back the Warriors here. So I'll take them in the first half here, Warriors, and then I'll take the full game over in this game here, Scott. You got anything else for this game?
No, not really. Once again, I don't trust either team, so I'll take the points.
All right, next game on the board. 2 games left here. We got the Phoenix Suns. They are in Denver to take on the Nuggets. Denver laying 4.5 here at home with a total of 230.5. Injury report. Start here with the Phoenix Suns. They will be without Grayson Allen, Bol, Devin Booker. Colin Gillespie is also out for this game. So Allen and Booker out for the Phoenix Suns. Denver does get that extra time coming off the game against the Pelicans in an overtime victory. So we'll see who ends up playing this game or not for the Denver Nuggets. Suns catching 4.5 here on the road, Scott. Total 230.5.
Yeah, so the Suns got a 43-point masterclass from Durant, and they still lost to Detroit at home. The Suns just aren't very good, but neither is Denver. I'm going to go Phoenix in this game. Denver played yesterday at an overtime game, so it's a really bad spot. Not to mention the fact they were against New Orleans, who stink, and they needed a double-digit point comeback in that game. Then they trailed by like 16. You know how bad you have to be to trail by 16 in New Orleans on a back-to-back? You have to be awful. I'll go with Phoenix. Durant, I still think, is unguardable. He looked great, even though he had a bunch of turnovers in the game against Detroit. Yes, Booker is out, but it's such a bad spot for Denver.
Yeah.
Having an overtime game on the road. Now you're playing at home, so you have to travel and face off against Phoenix, who has a pretty solid, just good overall good offensive depth. I think that you're looking at Phoenix, who actually gave Denver some problems last year. Denver owned this team for the last couple of years, and then Phoenix was able to actually do pretty well last year. I'll go with Phoenix. I don't want to lace 4.5 with Denver. If you want to go Denver 1-10, I don't hate that too, but there's no way I'm going to lay points with Denver when they are actually getting blown out in basically every first half. They're a terrible first half team. Maybe Phoenix first half is worth a look. I can't lay 4.5 on a back-to-back with an overtime game. I can't do it.
Yeah, this is going to be the first game. They're coming off a 3-game road trip. Number one are the Denver Nuggets. Now, like we mentioned, coming off that overtime game against the Pelicans, now you have to play back here at home. These two teams will also match up on Christmas Day, so keep that in mind in Phoenix. So I think there's a world where we could probably see maybe, I don't say Jokic, he doesn't really sit games, but maybe Jamal Murray sits in this game. But yeah, I think the Phoenix side would be the side here for me, plus the 4.5 here, maybe money line as well. And then maybe Denver, if they do end up losing tonight, gets their revenge on Christmas Day in Phoenix there. But again, like you mentioned, it's just really, really a bad spot here for the Denver Nuggets coming off the road trip and off of a overtime come from behind victory against the Pelicans. So Phoenix here for me. Got anything on the total?
I think it'd either be over or pass, but to be honest, I think I'm just good.
Yeah, I don't have much for the total here. The number of thing opened up at 234. It's starting to obviously has come down to 230.5. Again, if Jamal Murray or somebody does sit in this game, I think that just continues to drop here in this game. All right. Last game of the night. The Detroit Pistons. They are in LA to take on the Lakers. Lakers laying 5.5 in this game with a total of 224. Injury report for the Detroit Pistons. Unfortunately, we will not see Isaiah Stewart, at least on the floor, rushing towards LeBron James. He is out for this game. For the LA Lakers, Anthony Davis is questionable. He's dealing with a left shoulder contusion. LeBron is also listed as questionable with the left foot injury management. And then, of course, your usual suspects of Jackson Hayes, Jared Vanderbilt, and Christian Wood and Jalen Hood-Schifino all out for this Lakers team. Lakers laying 5.5 at home here. Scott, total 224.
Yeah, so Denver actually beat them in the first meeting of the season back in Denver. Now, the Lakers, we know, are night and day difference at home compared to the road. They've been good lately, though. Beat the Kings twice. They never beat the Kings, but the Kings are horrible this season still. That counts as a moral victory, worst case scenario. Give me the Lakers 1-10. Like, I don't trust the Lakers to win by margin ever, but I do think Detroit can keep this game competitive. They need Kate to have a monster game, which he's capable of doing. They don't really have many other great options. Ivy had a great game against Phoenix, though. They played well. I think the Lakers at home, though, are very tough to beat, but I see a close game no matter what. Give me the Lakers 1-10. They mess around, the game gets interesting, but I see the Lakers winning. So I think 1-10 is a good option.
Yeah, I think you mentioned with Kate's going to have a big game here tonight. I think that's definitely doable.
He has to have a big game
in
every game if they want a chance to win.
Yeah. Detroit has won 2 out of their last 3. Really struggled in that game against the Jazz. It was really in that first quarter that kind of did them in. They did their best to come back, but just fell a little bit short. Did beat the Phoenix Suns, like we talked about, 133-125. And then they're going to wrap up their road trip in Sacramento. So not sure what their schedule is going to be, if they're going to be flying back home for Christmas. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I like the Pistons side here. I think I'll take them plus the 5.5 here. Do like Cade here tonight. Anything on the total for you? 224.
I think for the total, I honestly don't know. I think I'd probably go over because Detroit I don't trust defensively at all. But the Lakers defensively have actually been fine lately. So yeah, I'm not really sure in this one for the total. I think I'll go over, but I prefer Lakers 1-10.
Yeah, not much on the total as far as Lakers home games this season. 9-3 straight up. They are 7-5 ATS, 7-5 towards the under in the home games there for the Lakers. And then Pistons on the road, not much there as well. They're 8-8 on the total. So I'll pass on that one as well. All right. So that is the last game of the night for the Monday card. 14-game schedule should be a lot of fun here in the association. Let's get into our lock and dog here, and then we'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight. You want to lead us off, Scott?
Sure. So for my lock, I got to figure out what I actually want to do because there are a decent amount of stuff that I actually liked on the card today. I think for this one, what do I want to do? You know what? I'll actually go for an even money play as my lock. I'll be a bit different. Give me the Rockets halftime, full time. against the Hornets at even money. I think Houston, after having a pretty tough game against Toronto, I see Udoka lighting a fire under his players to get them pretty, I'd say, motivated for this game. Charlotte, I think, stinks. It is what it is. You're looking at them being a joke for the last couple weeks in particular. They lost to the Wizards. I feel like that's kind of enough said. I do think you're looking at a spot, though, where the Hornets are a mess, and I think that the Rockets could play a lot better than they did yesterday against Toronto. Escaped with the win. I see them looking sharp here. Give me Houston, halftime, full-time at even money. That was on ESPN bet as my lock. For my dog, I think I'm just going to go with the Hawks here to get the job done. I think at the end of the day, the Timberwolves should not be laying points. Trae Young went through shoot-around, which is a good sign, and we know that Atlanta made the, once again, NBA Cup semis. They played better, and once Trae went out again, they kind of fell apart, but I see them looking sharper at home here. You can find the money line at plus 144. I think it's a good price. I really don't want to back Minnesota right now, though. Give me the Hawks money line. Not going to get too creative at plus 144 as my dog.
All right. For my lock, I think it's going to be the over in the Jazz and the Cavs game, or it was going to be... Yeah, I'll go with the over in the Jazz and the Cavs game. We talked about how bad the Jazz defense has been. I think they can score as well, at least to keep the game competitive. I do think it gets over the total here, 232.5. Obviously, you have Laurie, Colin Sexton going back against their former teams. And we know what Cleveland has been able to do offensively, especially at home this season. So do like the over there at 232.5. For my dog, I'm going to take the Phoenix Suns here tonight, plus 150 on the money line. Even without Devin Booker, I think that, again, it's just a really, really bad spot here for the Denver Nuggets, coming off of the road trip, coming off of a overtime game in New Orleans, now having to play here on their home floor and then having to travel to Phoenix for the game on Christmas Day here. So I think just a situational bad spot here for the Denver Nuggets here. So got the well-rested team here against the Denver Nuggets. I'll take the Phoenix Suns plus 4.5 and, of course, money line plus 150 as my dog here for tonight. All right, so those are our picks here for tonight. Let's do our Underdog Fantasy entry for the card here tonight here, Scott. Again, make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. If you don't have an account, make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. You'll get a first-time deposit offer of up to 50% up to $1,000 courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. So come join the fun with us. All right, where do we want to start here for tonight?
So if we are picking Detroit to hang in there, do you want to go something with Cade or you want to go elsewhere?
Yeah, I like Cade. He's been really good to me this season. So let me pull up his numbers and what Underdog has his projections at. All right. So they have points at 23.5, PRA 38.5, assists are 9.5, rebounds and assists are at 15.5.
Okay, you want to just go PRA?
Yeah, that's fine. All right, we'll do that. We'll start with PRA higher, 38.5 for Cade. You want to bag Laurie or Colin Sexton tonight?
We could. I don't know if I actually want to, though. I do want to mention one guy, though, that I think should have a good game. Can we just go for Durant points?
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to guard him. He had 43 last game.
Yeah, 31.5. You want to go just points?
Sure.
Okay. 31.5 is the number for Kevin Durant. What else do we like? You want to go like Wimby or something?
We could, unless you think he's in foul trouble against Embiid. That's kind of the only concern there.
I wish we knew if Giannis was playing.
I was going to say Bobby Portis is an option, obviously.
Yeah, but he's not. They're not. He's not listed quite yet. Thunder will probably be a blowout.
Yeah, I thought about going for an under actually with a Thunder player, but I don't know if it's worth my time.
Do you want to go like Trae Young?
Actually, you know what? Okay, we'll do something
what
big.
Cat rebounds.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's see what they got him at. Probably like 13.5. 14.5.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it makes sense. Do you want to go? Okay, I mean, if you want to go for something else, I don't spend too much time on this. Do you want to go for a play on? You know what? Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go with Jaylen Brown assists against Orlando. It was at 3.5 last night. I think it's a pretty solid number since Orlando's missing half their team.
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
3.5 is a number for him.
Sure. That sounds pretty
All
low.
right. So that'll get to a 5.04x entry here for tonight. All right. So just to recap our Underdog Fantasy entry, we'll go Cade, PRA higher 38.5, Kevin Durant higher 31.5 points, and Jaylen Brown higher 3.5 assists. That'll get you a 5.04x entry. Every $10 that you do put in, you'll get a return of $50.40 currency of Underdog Fantasy. Again, make sure you guys get over there if you haven't already. UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure that promo code NBASGPN. All right, that's going to do it here for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. 14-game schedule on the card here for tonight. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, not really. A lot of games should be fun. Looking forward to them.
Yeah. Make sure you guys follow Scott over on the Twitter machine at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. If you haven't already subscribed to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube account, please go and do that for us. And then if you can just hit that like button and leave a comment as well on the stream here on YouTube if you are watching live. And if you're on the audio version, Spotify, Apple, wherever you do get your pods, do us a favor, leave us a rating and review. We'll be back tomorrow to preview the Christmas Day games. There's no games on the Tuesday card, but Terrell and Lonte will be here to preview these Christmas Day games. So look out for the gentlemen. Probably at the same time, same place, of course, for the Christmas Day games. Maybe you could guys get ahead of the lines there. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and always remember to let it ride.
Basketball, give me the ball because I'm good.